Hey, everybody. So great to see you. My name is Greg Nunabel, Communications Consultant with SSM Health. Really appreciate you all coming together and joining us today to talk about Nathan Walker and the amazing patient story that he had at the ICU at SSM Health, St. Joseph Hospital in St. Charles. Just a brief background to kind of set the stage for you. From my perspective, at the hospital, every day we have a safety huddle, and the leadership together just talks about what happened in the last 24 hours. And a brief mention in one of them was that there was an ICU patient who had been extubated and recognized the voices of his caregivers when he woke up. So I chased down a couple of leads and really discovered that there was an incredible story happening here that exemplifies compassion, relationship, and just human connection. And so the more that I heard, the more intrigued I became. And in our organization at SSM Health, we truly believe in the healing power of presence. And right now, under this pandemic, that is certainly challenging. All of us are tasked with thinking outside the box on how we can connect with our patients in very meaningful ways and help promote their healing. So I think you'll see a lot of examples of that today. I will stop there because I want the story to come from the people who experienced this and who lived through it. So I wanted to start by going around the room and some brief introductions about yourself. So if you could please state your name and your title and your role in Nathan's care. We'll go around the room and then we will pass it to Kimberly and Nathan to tell us more about their personal story. So I will start with Danielle, if you could start, and we'll go around the room to introduce ourselves.
Hi everyone, I'm Danielle Santiago and I am a nurse in the ICU, working mostly with the COVID patients. I think I took care of Nathan the first night after he was intubated. Actually, his request was for one of us to take a picture of him while he was intubated with his phone. So I was the one that I think I took the picture of him while he was intubated. So just getting to know him and his family over that weekend was pretty life-changing.
Us too.
Kyle, let's go to you.
Yeah, sure. So my name's Kyle Ebert. I'm a RN in the ICU over there at St. Joe's. And like Danielle, I've been spending a lot of time in the COVID ICU. And I was actually really lucky to get to take care of Nathan when we got to do multiple things as he was actually improving. I got to get him flipped back over onto his back. When we have patients that are having difficulty breathing, we have to put them on their stomach. It helps them oxygenate. And Nathan was having a really hard time getting back over. So I was able to get him back on his back, and he was able to stay there after that, which was awesome. And then I was also able to be there as we weaned Nathan off of all those drips as he woke up and was still improving. Unfortunately, I had to leave right before we got to pull the tube and extubate him, but I was there when he woke up. Danielle was there with me, and Nathan he kept wanting to tell us something, and Danielle finally got a letter board out, and he was able to say thank you, and it about made us tear up right there. So I was really lucky to see him as he improved.
Thank you. Lauren Fisher.
Well, it's Thomas. I'm on my wife's computer. But yeah, I'm Thomas Fisher. I am an RN. I worked with Nathan on a number of occasions, actually. I don't know how many times, but it was mainly through the kind of middle points where you were pretty out of it. You were pretty heavily sedated. I do recall, though, I guess it was one of the first days when you started to wake up. That was a really, really cool thing to see. I got to see you actually start responding to my commands. I was asking you to squeeze my hands, do all that stuff that you probably did 1,001 times while you were with us. That was really cool for me to get to see, to see you go from just completely basically comatose to now you're waking up, you're doing better, you're starting to, actually hear us, actually, get to do some of your own stuff. So that was really cool. And I specifically remember Kimberly calling. That was to see family involvement even from afar like that was a really inspiring thing for me. I just, it's great to hear from family and to see them so concerned and so involved in patient care. We don't always get to see that. So even from afar, I thought that was something that really stuck out to me.
Thanks, Thomas. Christian, why don't you tell us who's in the room?
Hi, I am Christian Boyce. I am the Director for Critical Care here at St. Charles, and along with Jessica, have the pleasure of helping to lead this wonderful team of ICU nurses.
Hi, I'm Jessica Smith. I'm the nurse manager for ICU. I've grown up with most of these nurses, raised by many of them, and now I get the pleasure of leading them through our journey of nursing and through this COVID pandemic.
I'm Samantha, or Sam Shelton. I'm an RN here at St. Joe's in the ICU. I've been in the COVID ICU for about 7 weeks straight. All right. I know Danielle did the first Zoom call with Kimberly, and I did 2 other Zoom calls with you guys and your family. And I mean, like Kyle said, the care from so far away was just incredible. And just seeing how, even the appreciation, how much you guys appreciated just being able to lay eyes, on Nathan. And just, I know Kyle and I feel like for days just kind of just kept passing you back and forth. And what did you do today? What was different today? Oh, that's awesome. And it was, I don't want to say a great experience in that, in a way like that, but it was very, very awesome to see you come out of this and to just see the love and the togetherness and the inspiration from absolutely everyone. You are very, very well loved for sure. You got an outstanding group behind you.
Thank you. Taylor?
Hi, I'm Taylor McCarty. I'm one of the ICU nurses on night shift. I had taken care of Nathan several times throughout the last, was it 5 weeks or so? And the last time I remember being Nathan's nurse was when he was on max sedation, the maximum amount of the paralytic, and it was scary. It was very scary because he was prone and still on his belly, and oxygenation was kind of, back and forth for a while. So that was actually the last time that I was responsible for taking care of Nathan. And then I had a stretch of days off. And when I came back, they said the tube's out. And I was just like completely in awe. It was amazing because we hoped and prayed for you every single day, Nathan, all of us. And to see you, from as bad as it could almost possibly be with this virus to waking up and getting that ventilator off and talking to us and following commands and returning to some kind of normalcy was a miracle in the best way. And then a couple nights later when I came back just to say hi, when you were actually really talking and waking up more, I remember asking you or telling you who I was and that it's okay that you didn't know me, and I totally understand. Like you said, it's all eyes. And I grabbed your hand and you said, "Oh no, I remember your voice." And sorry, as soon as you said that, I had to excuse myself from the room because I just could not believe how much you had been through, how much you had pulled through, and to be where you are. It's just amazing. So we are all so incredibly blessed to be part of your story and to have been able to take care of you. That's awesome.
Thanks for that. Rebecca?
Hi, my name is Rebecca, and I am one of the ICU night shift nurses. I've spent a lot of time in the COVID ICU, not only as a staff nurse, but I've worked as the charge nurse. I've worked as the resource nurse. So Nathan, I came in the middle of your story. I knew your name. I'd had all the other patients in the unit. I've been there on many turns, and the time I had you, you were probably the sickest. We turned you over on your belly that night and titrated your drips, made you more sleepy. And then I was there when you first started waking up. You're looking around, you're kind of reaching for that tube a little bit. But your story was known for all of us. You know, we'd leave work and we'd go, well, here's Nathan's update. Or if I'd have a couple days off, we'd like, how's Nathan today? You know, we always wanted to know how you were doing, whether we were off or at work. And Kim, I knew your number. You called every night. You called every morning. I see your number come across the caller ID. I go, Kim's calling. Where's Nathan's nurse at? So we knew you.
Thank you. Jana, hi.
Nathan, I had the privilege of taking the breathing tube out. You were full of emotion. I'm sorry, I'm full of emotion. And it was nice to have you for a few days and get to know you and talk to you and have your family talk to you and you actually being able to talk back to them, which was very nice. And to actually move you out on room air after having 100% oxygen for quite a while, you are a miracle. Definitely a miracle. It was a privilege taking care of you.
Okay, thank you. Kathy.
Yeah, hi, I'm Kathy Chop, and Nathan, I took care of you kind of through the middle and towards the end. I work weekends, and the biggest memories that I have is towards the end when you were starting to wake up. I knew that you were okay when you were reaching over the edge of the bed and trying to unhook the restraints. That was, it's like, yeah, he's in there, he's okay. He's going to be fine, you know. It's been such a pleasure taking care of you. And Kimberly, I just want to say that I talked to you, I remember talking to you about our diary, and you told me first that you were keeping a journal for him. And yes, and I was encouraging you to keep writing things, and that you know, with patients that have family here visiting, we actually have a diary that we put in the room and allow people to write in it, and the nurses write in it. So you kind of kept that at a distance through the phone, kept the diary for him, which is awesome. Nathan, you are a lucky man to have a sister like that cares for you that much. You really are, and you're very blessed. And
All right. Thanks, Kathy. Okay, guys, thanks for that. All right, so it's 1:15. We have till 1:40. So I want to turn it over to Nathan and Kimberly. Give them the floor to tell their personal story. Nathan, let's start with you. Who are you? Give us your background and your experience during the days and weeks leading up to the hospitalization.
All right. Can you guys hear me okay? My voice is still a little shot. Okay.
I can hear you okay.
So my job is 100% travel. I don't normally live in the St. Louis area. I have a travel trailer. I drag it all over the United States in the last year. I've been in Honolulu twice, Upper Peninsula, Michigan, East Coast twice, California, all over the place. So I just happened to land in St. Louis for a job at the airport. I was exposed to somebody who had tested positive for COVID-19 and was told by the county health department to quarantine myself for 2 weeks. So that's what I was doing when I quarantined myself at that point for 1 week and 5 days when I felt the first symptom come on. And I had been maintaining a log of my temperature and my blood pressure and my pulse rate. And I noticed that my temperature had spiked. I can't remember now what it was. There's a lot of stuff that's real fuzzy for the few days ahead of going into the hospital. But my temperature had increased. I started to get a slight cough, and within a day, it had gone from light symptoms to being severe. Severe enough to the point where when I was on the phone with my sister, she talked me into talking with a friend of hers who is an ER doctor down in Florida. And so I had a conversation with him, told him my symptoms, and he said, "Dude, you need to get into the hospital." So I've had respiratory things in the past where it showed up, it went away, but he said with what you're showing, you should go get looked at. So that's what brought me into the ER that night. And I remember I felt bad because I didn't have a mask to cover up with, so I had my face buried in my coat. They got me through the check-in. They got me a mask right away. They got me through the check-in. And things are a little fuzzy for me, but I remember it seemed like I was looking out a window or something, and somebody came in and told me that I needed to go on the ventilator. And that was just kind of an earth-shattering moment for me. Because I remember reading statistics in the news about the survival rate once a COVID patient goes on a respirator or goes on a ventilator. And I remember being scared. But it was handled very well. It was handled very calmly. At no point did I feel panic, I guess, would be the way to describe it. I didn't feel panicked. I was scared, no doubt. But the way it was explained is it was medically necessary, and this is the right path. It's really the only path forward, and it needs to happen. I remember being wheeled into what I'm assuming was the COVID ICU. It was very crowded. Everybody was geared up like crazy. Again, nothing but eyes. But I was wheeled into, I think it was the corner room. And there was 2 people in the room with me. And there was a bunch of people, it seemed like, in the little hallway outside just waiting. I don't know if they were watching or if they were waiting to jump into action after I was put under or what. But I remember, the last thing I remember was eye contact with somebody. And the eye contact was kind of it wasn't promised that it was going to be okay or anything like that. It was just, we got you. That's okay, we got you. This is what we do. It's all right, you know. And then things get real fuzzy after that. I have vague recollections of my sister's voice. I'm assuming from the Zoom calls. There were voices of nurses that I recognized. And yeah, Taylor, yours is one of them. But again, it's matching voices with eyes. The names were thrown at me so often that it was hard for me to keep track of names, to be honest. But recognizing voices and eyes. And I've told several people this. It'd be a lot easier maybe to remember specifics if most everybody was mean and there was only a few nice people. Or if everybody was nice and there were just a few mean people. But everybody from start to finish did such a good job of maintaining my dignity, being respectful, being kind. even when there was one night where I remember I ended up pulling out my feeding tube. I was having some crazy dreams. It was a bad night. Can't remember if it was after I was moved out of ICU or not, but it had to do with aliens invading and spaceships and all sorts of weird stuff. I'm chalking it up to, I think it's called ICU deliriums. Other ICU deliriums included seeing my son on television. There was a bunch of them that I was absolutely convinced were real. It took a couple of days after it came out to kind of sort out what was real and what wasn't. But I remember coming out, and I remember wanting to spell out thank you. I was just so grateful to be alive. And when they told me how long I'd been under, there was not a doubt in my mind that there was probably some pretty sketchy moments. So being alive, I was just filled with gratitude. So it's a privilege for me to be able to see some of you guys again and convey that to something other than an eye strip. Be able to see faces and smiles. It's really something for me. I was amazed at how weak I was when I woke up. During the whole spaceship debacle where I was having the crazy dreams, I remember thinking that I needed to tuck and roll to get out of bed. And I tucked and rolled just fine out of bed, and then I couldn't move. My muscles were so weak. I've started rehab in earnest now with physical therapy and whatnot. And it's amazing. From what I understand, I lost about 30 pounds while I was in there. They tell me at rehab I'm at about 25 to 55% strength-wise of where I should be. So I've lost a lot in there, but coming through it and being alive is, I can deal with this other stuff, getting strength back and things like that. I'm really grateful that if this had to happen somewhere, I'm really grateful it happened here. I'm really grateful that St. Joe is the closest place for me to go. And I'm very grateful for all of you guys. You guys that are on the call and the ones that aren't able to be on the call. Thank you. Thank you for your efforts. Thank you for what you did. Thank you for being willing to be in the COVID unit for weeks at a time. You guys are amazing.
Thank you, Nathan. Kimberly, let's hear from you. He talked about the moment his memory started to become fuzzy. And I know you had a lot of communications over the Zoom with some of the people in this room. So tell me what it was like for you to have to care for him in that remote setting.
Well, I've gone through all of it with him and walked him through it, and it was hell. It was 3 weeks of hell. We've lost a lot of people in our family. We've lost both of our parents and two of our brothers, and I was so terrified when he called me and told me that he was going to be intubated, because I'd known friends that dropped family members at the hospital and then didn't get to see them again and say goodbye to them. And I knew that when he told me that, we were in for either a very long journey with an ending that we didn't want to happen, or one that we would be extremely grateful for, which is, praise God, where we are right now. So the last thing I remember telling him was, you have to fight this. You have to fight. And our last text back and forth to each other was, I love you. And then it was, I started talking to you guys, and my days were filled with talking to you guys, and getting through that hell was my husband, my kids keeping me sane, and you guys keeping me sane. I know I called so many times a day. That first night in the ICU, Danielle, I feel like we just bonded. We talked about our daughters that are the same age, and it was just one of those late night chats, not our only one. We had a few. I had a few with a lot of you, but just Danielle, you walking me through my initial terror, those first few nights just meant the world to me. I'm like Nathan, I'm filled with eyes and voices, and to have this privilege now to look at all your beautiful faces and tell you how grateful we are, and how wonderful this week honoring you guys. It's our privilege to be able to have this time, to be able to chat with you and thank you personally after having so many discussions with all of you and getting to know you over the phone, to just go from that to nothing. It was weird. I felt like I should call you guys even after I picked up Nathan from the hospital, because I was just, I felt you guys were the glue, you know, that kept me together. You knew that I wanted the numbers, and I wanted to know the good stuff. I wanted to know the bad stuff. I wanted to know the truth, and you guys always gave it to me, but always with compassion and with kindness. And there were so many moments of fear that you guys walked me through when he first got intubated, when his numbers just kept getting worse and worse. Danielle, you prepped me for the possibility of the paralytic and what we would be looking at. You talked me through when he got ARDS, the acute respiratory distress, and things were really bad. Thomas, you prayed with my brother. I mean, just being able to talk to you about that and telling you that it would mean the world to him, and the fact that you did that meant so much to us. And those of you that helped us with technology and making this sort of thing happen was such a gift. And Kyle and Sam, I did with you guys. Michelle helped me with Zoom at one point too. And the nighttime nurses, it was just crazy hours. I would call every night before I went to bed. And as busy as you guys were, you stopped what you were doing, you know, as much as you could, and gave me the information that kept me going. And I wrote it all down. I've got pages and pages in here. And I went through all of it with Nathan and showed him all his numbers and all the times that he was prone and how long he was prone. And the first thing I did every time I called was write down a name, one of your names. Every time I called, I would write down your name and I'd circle it. I have all these circles in here, and of all of you. And I know I missed the names, but it was a privilege to be able to hear from you folks that are doing what you're doing right now, especially at a time like this. We pray for you guys, we pray for your families, and we have no concept of what you're going through and what you're doing to do what you do, but you saved his life, and I'm so grateful. Thank you for this moment.
Thanks, Kimberly. Wow. Just makes me appreciate being in this career field. I'm non-clinical. I'm with you. I don't know how these folks do it, but thank God they do. Thank you, guys. And I should also mention it is Healthcare Week, and this just aligns perfect with that, something that our organization really prides itself on. We want to give back. We want to show our appreciation, and this is the week we do it, and we have to do it a little bit differently this year, obviously, but I'm just so glad we're all able to get together and just share these stories. It's really meaningful. I'm going to turn the floor over to Christian. She has a couple of remarks that she'd like to say from a hospital leadership perspective. I'll also say that I just got a prompt from the Zoom program saying that we no longer have a time limit, so we can exceed the 40 minutes. So just so you know. So Christian, I'm going to hand it to you and Jessica for your remarks.
So I think, from a leadership perspective, I think, depending on where you are in the country or even in the state, we all had this warning in a sense, right, that we would eventually be taking care of the COVID population of patients. And so, of course, as a leader, we try to prepare as much as you can, with putting COVID ICUs together, and what does PPE look like, and what do the ratios look like, and trying to prepare. And poor Sam, I probably pulled into the trial period of the COVID ICUs. I need you to come and walk with me and tell me, we want to dot all the I's and cross all the T's, and let's work through your workflow and what do you need. And, so of course, all of those things, the logistics of it all, we of course try to prepare for as much as we could, with of course keeping in mind that, what we see on TV and on social media, and we were all very scared and didn't know what this would look like. And, we have mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers, and, are we going to be able to go home to our families and all those things, and encouraging this team, that we will be here, Jessica and I, every step of the way. We're going to be here with you. We think we have it covered, but, if we start and recognize that what we thought really doesn't work, let us know. We're here any day, anytime, call us, and we'll do whatever we have to do to try to keep everybody safe and provide the quality of care that these patients need. And so, of course, we prepared as best as we could for that. And then we started seeing our population of COVID patients, of course. And then there are just some things that you cannot prepare for, the human aspect of things. And, just Nathan's story specifically, I think that there's just a lot of, he is a patient that a lot of the nursing staff could relate to. I think, there's probably a lot of brothers and sisters, of course, that are close, and families, and he has children. And so I think a lot of the staff were just able to relate to Nathan. And so that's why and then just to continue to see him do better and better every day, like Rebecca said, they want to know, even when they're not at work, what did Nathan do today? How did Nathan do? Is Nathan doing better? So, I think with just seeing the number of people who unfortunately did not win the fight against COVID, on TV and on social media and on the radio, to see someone really recover and do well, and that they're going to be okay, I think was an inspiration to the team. I think, from talking to the nursing staff that took care of Nathan, I think, it's amazing when you think of the different perspectives. Outside of the hospital, it was, the nurses and all the healthcare workers are the heroes, and they're taking care of these patients, and, they're saving the day. And then on the inside of the walls of the hospital, I think once, in the ICU, it's not unusual for the patients not to be able to talk to us, and they're intubated, but we rely heavily on the families, but usually they're there physically. So I think the realization that we won't have anybody there at the bedside, and we have to use Skype and Zoom and those kind of things, I think the perception on the inside of the hospital then became that the patients and their families are really the heroes, the ones that are fighting this illness without having their loved ones there at the bedside with them. I just heard a lot of the staff say that honestly, they really are the heroes to fight this thing. So I think Nathan was just a huge inspiration to this team, and inspired them. And I think made them all feel like, we have this, we're doing the right thing. We can see more of these patients, and we got this right, and that we can see people recover from this. So Nathan, you were a huge inspiration to this team. We heard about Nathan every single day. We play, when our COVID patients are discharged, we play Here Comes the Sun over the intercom, and Jessica and I happened to be downstairs one day when we heard, and oftentimes we're not able to stop what we're doing right then and go and see. But on this particular day, Jessica and I ran upstairs, and we were like, oh, let's go see, let's look out the window and see, who, because it was always very exciting to see the reaction of the family members when they come and they haven't seen them in weeks. And then you can kind of look, so there's this tunnel where the family can see the patient coming before they actually get outside. So Jessica and I are standing kind of on the other side looking through the window, and we saw Kimberly when she first recognized that it was Nathan in the wheelchair, and she's like jumping up and down. She was so excited, and Jessica and I are like face on the window crying, and watching her reaction.
I was not crying.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
And we, once Nathan got outside, I think Kimberly maybe talked to the nurse that brought him outside for a little while. And then Jessica and I talked about it afterwards. It was like time froze for a minute. She hugged Nathan, and it must have felt like 5 minutes where she just didn't let him go. So I think, we then, of course, felt the same way that the staff felt like they are really the heroes in all of this. So we were just very inspired as well and very moved. And we did not even know there was Nathan at the time. And so later on that day, we found out that Nathan had gotten discharged. And we're like, oh, so that we did see that was Nathan. So even meant more to us then because we had Nathan with us on our units for so long. So you were a true inspiration. And as much as you are grateful to us for taking care of you, we are just as grateful for you because I think that you inspired us and helped us to believe that we can help patients get better and recover from this. And I don't know, Jess, you have anything to add?
I just want to express like the pride that I have in my team. I say they're mine because they're mine. Nursing's hard. ICU nursing's difficult, but COVID ICU nursing is darn near impossible. And through all of this, they have been, okay, well, that changed from 3 minutes ago, but okay, all right, we can do this. They've always hunkered down and just got it done with a smile on their face behind the mask. And that's truly inspiring. I'm just in awe of my team. And having families at bedside as an ICU nurse is almost essential because the families are able to tell you what they like. Do they like their feet covered? Do they sleep in socks? Do they not sleep in socks? What do they like to listen on TV? What nicknames do they like? Don't call him that because he will not respond to. Those kinds of things. And so we've had to really adjust how we care for our patients emotionally. Physically, we got that part down pretty well. But that emotional aspect of ICU nursing is so incredibly important. And you need the family at the bedside for that. And you need that hand holding and that human touch. And COVID has really kind of driven a wedge in that. But seeing the connections that were made over the phone calls, I can't look at you, you're making me cry. Seeing the connections made over the phone calls and the Zoom meetings and everything is just, it's cup filling. This is why we do what we do as nurses, and this is why we're ICU nurses. This is why we show up every single day and put our badge on with our mask and go and get it done every single day.
And so, Greg mentioned Nathan that in the safety huddle when they said, Nathan woke up and he recognized all of our voices. Everybody, I think, was just very moved and touched by the fact that you remember their voices. And, I just brought to light how important it is to continue to talk and inspire our patients, even when maybe they can't answer us right then. And so, of course, we felt like if you remember their voices after having so many fuzzy days, that you will probably always remember their voices. And I think I can speak for everybody here today that they will always remember you. And so our nursing staff, the team that took care of you, wanted to give you a little bit of a gift in hopes that you would always remember them the way that they will remember you. And so Kimberly has that for you. And Kyle, I don't know if you wanted to maybe talk a little bit about what is in the book that Nathan is looking at.
Oh, here we go. Well, I just got the idea that that maybe you'd like to see some of our faces. I know, like you said, all you've had to go on is eyes, and it's so hard. We're wearing this, I like to call them our space gear, our space suits. We look like aliens coming in and trying to take care of you. and even our voices are going through these masks and they're muffled. And so I messaged a bunch of the people you see here today, just asking, anyone that wanted to, please, send a picture so we can get a little album together to give to you, Nathan, because that COVID ICU it's a rough place. We've got a lot going on there, and honestly, you were a shining light. I think it was Michelle, one of our day shift CSNs, that said that you were basically our shining light in the darkness going on up there. The fact that you were doing so poorly and we were all so worried about you, and to see you get better, it did so much for me among all the other people that weren't doing better. We had a lot going on in there, and we all just kind of latched onto you to help us get through all this as well. And I really thought it'd be nice for you to be able to see our faces and know that these are the people that we're taking care of, and hopefully it helps you connect some of those voices and help you remember what's going on there.
Thank you very much. I've been called a lot of things in my life, a shining light. This is amazing. Thank you for the book. You've no idea how much that means to me. I didn't realize, of course, I was out of it for 3 weeks. I didn't realize that I had such an impact. From my perspective, I don't know. I hadn't thought about it from that perspective, I guess. From my end, all I can think about still is just how grateful I am that you guys were involved in my treatment. And that, essentially, it's not everybody gets this opportunity to basically tell the people that saved your life, thank you for saving my life. That's what you did. You guys did that. You saved me. So now I'll always be able to remember it. The faces, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan and Kimberly. Unbelievable stuff. Does anyone else in the room have anything else to say? Anything they want to narrate from that photo album while we got a moment? All right. Well, I think we can wrap things up. Again, just thank you guys so much for everything, for coming together today, for sharing your experience. We can't imagine what you went through, Nathan, and it's just an unbelievable time. And to be in the hospital while this is all happening is surely a whirlwind. But we're so grateful to our caregivers. They really did our organization proud. They revealed the healing power of presence, and revealed God's healing presence. And I'm privileged to be a part of it. Thank you again.
Thank you guys again, all of you.
Thank you for the gift of seeing your face, your whole face, and to hear you guys again. It's such a gift that you've given us. You've given us my brother back, and we're eternally grateful